Hello there. Well, if you want to protect your property from scumbag thieves, you'll probably want to stay tuned. Welcome to Grey Matters on location. Hello, well, welcome to Grey Matters on this rather dull and miserable day. Grey Matters is a channel that promotes the fact that the older generation still matters and looks at issues that matter to the older generation. Don't forget, please, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and if you ring the bell, then you can stay notified of all our future content. Well, we're on location again for part 2 of our look at the basics of home security. You'll remember from the first video I said that the majority of burglaries are committed by opportunists. They look for the house that looks and feels unoccupied, and then they'll knock on the door to see if anybody's in. Now while they're waiting, they're going to be looking for cameras, alarm boxes, window locks and so on. And should someone answer the door, then they're lost. Does Mrs. Brown live here? Do you want your driveway cleaned? They will have lots of excuses as to why they've knocked on your door. If you're out, then it's straight round the back where they'll break in, often through insecure doors and windows. About 30% of burgled dwellings are insecure, and once inside, they'll usually head straight for the main bedroom, looking for cash and jewellery. Jewellery is easily concealed and quickly converted into cash. Now you might also lose some electronics or small antiques, and that depends on 3 factors: whether or not they have an outlet for such things, how much time they think they've got left, and how close they've managed to park their vehicle to your property. Now the average burglary takes just 3 minutes, so that's our target for security. If we can keep them out for 3 minutes, they'll probably give up and try somewhere else. Now it doesn't sound like a very long time, but try this. Go outside your house, check your watch, and then try and guess when 3 minutes is up. I guarantee you'll be way off the mark, probably about a minute and a half, and you'll give up. It's such an accurate time base that it's now used as the industry standard for when they attack test security products. Now we know how Burglar Bill operates, let's slow him down. First thing we need to do is to remove the curbside appeal to the burglar. Try and make it look like a less attractive opportunity for him. Well, we had to abandon the filming yesterday because it started to rain, but today much nicer and brighter. Now, you remember what I said about opening up the front of your property and keeping all hedgerows and fences down to about 4 feet on the roadside to open up the view. Otherwise, you're just providing the burglar with cover. Now, this house has got it right. You can see no cover for the burglar whatsoever. Now, we're going to come back to that picture later on as well. Remember too, if you've got gates, to use them, you need to put up a nice visible physical barrier across the front of your house if you can. That just means maybe the burglar will just carry on past because there's going to be an easier property further down the road. Where it comes to side gates, if you've not got one and you can install one, then please do, because you need to stop the burglars getting around to the back of your house. Remember, that's where they're more likely to break in. But if you've got a gate, then you need to be careful where you site it. This one is completely wrong. It's at the back of the house, at the back building line, and that means if the burglar's going to climb over it, he can do so nicely concealed down the bottom of that passageway. You need to install your gate at the front building line. That way, if he's going to climb over the gate, he's going to do it in full view of the road. And we go back and have a look at that house that we showed you a minute ago. They've got it exactly right, as you can see. And if the burglar's going to climb over there, everyone's going to see him do it. And it presents what I like to call a nice united front to the burglar. And that's perfect. Out of all the houses in that road, that one I would suggest is one of the least likely to be burgled. But all is not quite as seems with this house, because in fact they do have a gate along the front building line. If you're going to put one in, do try to avoid a wrought iron gate, because it just provides handholds and footholds for the burglar to use to climb over. Okay, if he's in full view of the road, he's still less likely to. But you can deal with that just by putting some close garden mesh across the front of it and deprive him of the footholds. Now, there's not a lot of point in having your gate on the front building line and nicely secure if you're then going to leave additional climbing aids for the burglar to use to get over. These should be behind your gate, not in front of it, even though it's probably a bit more convenient to keep it out the front. Now, when you've got your nice sturdy gate installed, you're going to fit a nice sturdy bolt, I hope, and if you do, in the middle please, not up the top where the burglar can just reach over and undo it. And if you can get one that allows a padlock to be fitted, then use one of those. And if you're worried about padlocks being inconvenient and cumbersome, choose one that's got a combination. It's a lot easier, okay? So that's the curbside appeal taken care of. Now let's look at the rest of your boundary. For your rear and side boundaries, nice tall fence panels are very good. They give you some privacy and they also give you some security. But if they're just slotted in to the posts as these are, then the burglar can just simply slide them up and either remove them completely or come in underneath. Now that's quite easily remedied. You just need to get a screw and screw it in through the side upwards at an angle until it bites into the fence post, and that should be enough to stop it being lifted out of the runner. If you've got low hedges or fences or gaps in your boundary, then you need to build those up too. Obviously burglar can climb over that quite easily, but if you want something a little more natural, you could consider what we term as defensive planting. That's plants like berberis or pyracantha that can grow in your hedge or along your fence, and they will create a nice impenetrable boundary. You can also plant them under windows if you've got flower beds under windows, and that helps to stop the burglar from climbing in through the window. Now this is berberis. It's one of the best plants to use for defensive planting. This particular variety has some very small thorns, but they're vicious. Can make trimming it and looking after it a bit of a challenge sometimes. We can guarantee if a burglar tries to come through here, he's going to shred his legs. Now there are lots of varieties of defensive plants. Garden centres know all about it now and they can recommend varieties if you ask for them. Pyracantha firethorn is a really good one with long red tipped thorns on there. Look like it's already drawn blood. I love things like this. It's natural, but it's a great defence. And finally, we need to consider lighting and CCTV. Now, lighting, the current thought on that is that it should be dusk to dawn, low energy lighting. That's the standard for the Secured by Design certification on new build houses, because lights that are on all the time will have a bigger deterrent effect. Burglars tend to know that if a light comes on as they enter the property, that it's only movement activated. It used to be when they first came out, the burglars would think someone had seen them and put the light on, but everyone knows that's not the case. So the first thing they will tend to do is to put lights out. They will tend to damage lights to put them out. And that's usually a good marker, because if your lights are ever out, then there's a warning that something perhaps isn't quite right. And it is a very good deterrent. And the other thing is CCTV. As I said in the introduction video, it is incredibly cheap now. And this particular camera costs 25 quid and it can be viewed and controlled from a smartphone. The picture quality is absolutely superb and it records sound as well. So there's no excuse really not to have that bit of protection. Now in terms of what you can and cannot record, there is a misconception that you're not allowed to record the highway, for example, but you can. There are absolutely no legislation restrictions on domestic CCTV as yet, and we're talking about 2020 at the moment. The Data Protection Act doesn't apply because that only applies to businesses that are retaining data, and the Human Rights Act doesn't apply either. There's no issues around privacy because the Human Rights Act applies to the state. It's designed to stop oppressive governments from controlling the population too much. So the Human Rights Act applies to the government, to your local authorities, to health authorities, to the police, to any government type of agency. But to the private individual, you cannot breach someone else's human rights. So your CCTV footage can include the highway. And that's particularly important if, say, you're trying to protect your car, that you have no choice but to park on the road outside your house. That just about wraps it up for today. Thank you for joining us. The next home security video will be about the shell of your building, the doors and windows, those access points that always cause people problems. And I'll be chatting to a certified locksmith about some of the ways you can secure them. Until then, don't forget, welcome to leave comments, to subscribe, give it a thumbs up and share. And until the next time we meet, thanks for joining us. And from Grey Matters, it's bye for now.